I'm Mark Matsumoto and welcome to my Tokyo kitchen. Today I want to show you my Somen Dipping Sauce recipe, along with some serving ideas for these ice-cold Japanese noodles, so stick around. Somen is a thin hand-pulled Japanese noodle with a history that dates back to at least the 14th century during the Muromachi period. In Japan, wheat noodles that are thinner than 1.3 millimeters are called somen, while noodles thicker than 1.7 millimeters are known as udon. Hiyamugi is the name for noodles that fall in between the two in thickness. Because somen is so thin, it's almost always served chilled with a dipping sauce and condiments. It's a great way to cool off on a hot summer day, so let's dive in and have a look at our ingredients. Somen noodles generally come bundled in 50-gram portions, and I usually figure an adult will eat 2 bundles. For the somen dipping sauce, I've got 1 cup of dashi stock, which I'll include a link to the recipe for in the video description. The dashi gets seasoned with 4 tablespoons of usukuchi soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of sake, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. You're also going to want some herbs to use as condiments, and I've got some ginger, kinome, green shiso, and myoga on the plate here, as well as some finely shredded nori, some toasted sesame seeds, and a flask of rice vinegar. Although they may look similar, different brands of somen are made differently and their boiling times can range from 2 to 3 minutes, so make sure you check the package for how long yours will take to cook. Alright, let's start by preparing our condiments. For the shiso, I'm going to stack the leaves on top of each other and roll them up. Then I'm going to trim off the stems, and then slice the rolled leaves into thin threads. Shiso adds a refreshing herbal flavor to the dipping sauce, but if you can't find it, other herbs in the same family such as basil or mint will work in a pinch. For the myoga, I'm going to slice it in half, and then I'm gonna slice it thinly against the grain. Myoga is the bud of a plant that's closely related to ginger, and it's got a crisp texture and intense flavor that tastes like summer. Finally, I'm gonna grate up some ginger. I'm using seasonal Japanese condiments today, but the great thing about somen is that you can serve it with almost anything you like, including tomatoes, cucumbers, microgreens, or even ham. The trick is to get creative here and include a wide variety of tastes, textures, and colors to customize each bite of noodles. Okay, let's get that onto our plate and our condiments are ready. To make the somen dipping sauce, add the dashi, soy sauce, sake, and sugar to a pot. Bring the mixture to a rolling boil and continue boiling it for a minute to burn off the alcohol from the sake and soy sauce. This gives you the umami from the sake without the alcohol. Now you want to take this off the heat and let it cool to room temperature. While we wait for that to cool, I want to take a moment to thank all of you for supporting my channel by watching and commenting on my videos. If you've learned something new from this recipe and you want to do something more, head over to marksrecipes.com where you can subscribe to my secret stash of recipes. You'll find the easy original dishes that I cook for my family there, and your membership helps to support this channel. Alright, let's put this somen together. Once the sauce is chilled, divide it up into 2 or 3 portions. I like using cups like this because they're easy to pick up with one hand. For the somen, bring a large pot of water to a rolling boil. Then I'm gonna unwrap 2 bundles of somen. It's just me having these today, but this recipe makes enough sauce for 2 to 3 people, so cook as many bundles as you plan to eat. Now set the timer for 3 minutes, and drop the somen noodles into the water. Give them a stir to prevent them from sticking together and get a strainer ready. These noodles are so thin they'll go from al dente to mushy in a matter of seconds, so it's super important to be precise with your timing. Now I'm gonna let these cook while keeping an eye on them so they don't boil over, and when the timer is up, drain them into a strainer. Run cold water over them immediately, and then you can transfer them back into the pot and chill them in a few changes of water while swishing the noodles around with your hand. This ensures even cooling while washing off any excess starch from the surface of the somen. Now I'm gonna drain these, and then we can transfer them to a bowl. Then you want to fill the bowl with enough water to submerge the somen. Let's add a few ice cubes to chill these even more. Garnish this with some leaves to evoke summer, and our somen noodles are ready to eat. You know, my appetite tends to wane on hot summer days, but the smell of savory dashi never fails to perk it back up. So let's try this out. Itadakimasu. All right, I've got my stock here and these beautiful noodles. You can hear the ice in there. It always makes me feel a little bit cooler. All right, I'm gonna go straight with the noodles into the dipping sauce. The dashi stock is super comforting, but you've got those ice cold noodles. That's kind of like taking a plunge into an alpine mountain stream. All right, let's add some condiments. This is the best part of somen. I'm gonna go refreshing with a little bit of shiso, some myoga, maybe a little bit of kinome, and some nori for good measure. All right, let's go for another bite. Get lots of condiments on there. You've got the crispy texture of that myoga, the fragrance of the kinome and the shiso, the umami from the nori. And although these somen noodles are super thin, because we've got them in an ice bath, they've got this really nice chewy al dente texture. All right, let's go for another round, and I think I'm gonna change it up even more this time and add a little bit of ginger and some sesame seeds. And let's go in with a little bit of rice vinegar here. This is gonna add a nice refreshing tartness to this, bringing it to a whole new level. All right, grab a bite of noodles into the sauce. Now that just quenches his craving deep down for something refreshing and delicious, so I hope you'll give it a try. All right, last bite. It's so good. Well, I'm gonna go wash the car, but check out this playlist for more chilled noodle dishes. And I'll catch you in the next one.